For the seasonings, what I put on here today was fennel. And when I use the fennel, I just kind of, because it's like seeds, I put the fennel in between, like in between the pieces of the meat, you know, where the folds are, so it can hold inside. So it's not going to really burn in the grease because of how I got it inserted into the meat. Also, I used this Kinder's steak seasoning, prime steak seasoning, and it has black pepper, garlic, and truffle in this. It tastes really good. And also accent. Y'all know every time I cook, I'm going to be using the accent. So what this is here is beef chuck roast. And I'm just searing it on all sides. And some of y'all might look at this and think that I'm searing it too, or, you know, cooking it too much. But sometimes I put it in the crock pot without searing it. I like it that way. And I also like to season it really good and do it this way to kind of seal in the seasonings as well. There's no particular time one way or the other. I mean, get it as crispy as you want, just long as the seasons are sealed in. I mean, like I said, sometimes I'll put this in the crock pot without doing any of this. Some people like it, some people don't. There's no right, there is no wrong, okay? This is the crock pot that I'm going to be using, that I'm going to put my roast into, and I have it already on high. This crock pot comes with off, warm, low, and high. And currently I have it on high. And I also put, I don't add water. I don't add water to my crock pot when I'm making a roast because it's going to make its own liquid or own broth. But what I do is add a little bit of butter. I like to put butter in it sometimes. And today I decided to put butter. So that's what you see at the bottom right there is butter. And so now that the roast is pretty much seared on all sides like I like, I'm going to transfer it over here to the crock pot. Okay, now that it's here, I'm just going to put the lid on it. And like I said, it's on high right now. And I'm going to let this cook for maybe about 4 hours. I'm not going to lift the lid. I'm just going to just let it cook and let it do its thing. And I'll be back after 4 hours to let you know, let you see what it's looking like, okay? Okay, it's been an hour and a half that this has been cooking. This is what it's looking like. You see how I told you I don't add water because it makes its own broth? See all that broth that's in there now? All that good flavor directly from the meat. I didn't add any canned broth or anything. It makes its own broth. So normally when I make a roast, I just leave it where it is and I don't flip it over. But since this has been cooking for an hour and a half on one side, I just want to just come in, and I can tell with the fork that it's getting so tender. I just want to come in and flip it over. Oops. And I'm just going to let this continue to cook. But now it cooked for an hour and a half originally on high. So now I'm going to turn it down to low and let it cook for another hour and a half, which would be right at 3 hours. Is that correct? About 3 hours. And then I'll come back and, check on it. And after that, I may let it cook for another hour on low as well, and it should be done. So I'll be back. Okay, another hour and a half has passed by, so that makes a full cooking time of 3 hours. And this is what it's looking like. A little bit closer. You see all that broth that's in here? I can tell as I pick this up again, it's been 3 hours that it's been cooking. I can tell that it's not quite ready yet. I mean, it's getting ready to start pulling apart, as you can see right here. The meat is pulling apart, but you could stop right here if you wanted to, but I want mine a little bit more tender. I want, when I stick my fork in my meat, I want it to come out. Oh, that's real tender. But, and it's moist. So at this point, you can choose to stop if you want, or let it cook a little bit longer. I'm gonna let mine cook a little bit longer, because you see how I can hold it up like this, but the outside of it, you see how it comes apart on the outside? But the fact that I can hold it up and it's not pulling apart lets me know that it needs to cook a little bit longer on the inside. And the seasoning tastes good. But like I said, this is 3 hours. And at this point, you could taste the broth to see if it tastes like you want it, if you need a little bit more seasoning, because we're pretty much at the end of cooking, because you don't want to overcook this because it'll get tough, okay? So you could, at this point, add more seasonings if you want to. Also, at this point, if you didn't want this to be as liquidy as it is, you could make a slurry of a little cold water and cornstarch. Don't put too much water, because what you're looking for is to make a paste. You want a really small amount of a really, really thick paste, and you're gonna stir the paste in your liquid right here, and it's gonna thicken. And as this cooks more, it'll thicken up even more. Okay? But I'm not gonna make a paste. I'm not gonna make a slurry, because I don't mind my liquid being the way that it is. So I'm gonna let this on low cook for another hour maybe, and that'll put me right at the 4 hour mark, and I'll come back and check it again to see how tender it is. Okay, it's been another hour, which makes this exactly 4 hours. So let's see how the tenderness is. So this is what it's looking like. Bring it a little bit closer. Move it back just a little bit. So the meat, I can tell how when I pick it up, let's just see. You see how it pulls apart now with the fork all the way through? See that? That's what I'm looking for. And I'm gonna put this on warm now, because I don't need it to actually cook anymore. See how it's just pulling apart now? That's what I want. And it's tender, it's moist, not dried out or anything like that. There's no point in me getting a knife and cutting it. Y'all see how it's coming apart. So this is how I typically cook my beef roast in the crock pot. Sear it first and cook it in the crock pot. All right, see you guys later.